I never imagined that a construction site for a future business center would become my temporary residence. Like many other migrants, I stayed overnight at the site to save on housing costs. Cooking, sleeping, and living amidst the skeletal structure of what was to become a beacon of commerce, I found a peculiar sense of home in the most unlikely of places. Yet, the dimly lit spaces and the constant presence of fine construction dust made the living quarters less than ideal. Thus, I settled in the basement, where the rough work was completed, seeking refuge from the chaos above. One evening, as I was brushing my teeth in the dim glow of my smartphone, a series of unsettling noises broke the silence. It sounded like footsteps, the distinct crunch of construction debris under weight. Curiosity mingled with a tinge of fear as I navigated the basement rooms, finding them all eerily deserted. I tried to dismiss it as a trick of the mind, a product of solitude and shadows. That night, the silence of the basement was broken by strange sounds. It started with soft whispers, like a breeze moving through the place. Then, I heard a woman's voice. It was faint and sad, echoing as if coming from deep below. I felt a chill run down my spine but pushed myself to check out the noises. As I moved, the air seemed thicker, and the shadows appeared to dance around me. The whispering got louder, turning into a mix of odd noises, rustles, and distant cries that made me feel uneasy. Suddenly, a sharp cry cut through the air, filling me with a deep sense of dread. It was as if the basement itself was holding on to stories of sorrow and pain. The next day, when I mentioned this to the foreman, his explanations seemed empty. Nothing could explain the eerie symphony of sounds that filled the basement that night, hinting at a hidden presence in the darkness. The darkness of the basement was always oppressive, but the night of the next day it seemed alive, filled with malevolent energy. My makeshift bed, usually a small comfort against the hard reality of my situation, now felt like an island in a sea of dread. Sleep, when it finally came, was fitful and fraught with unsettling dreams. I awoke abruptly, a cold shiver running down my spine despite the stifling air. The darkness seemed denser, almost tangible, as if it had weight and substance. Then, the unimaginable happened. From the inky depths of the room, a figure emerged, a woman, her features obscured by the shadows, yet unmistakably fixated on me with an intense, predatory gaze. Paralyzed by fear, I could only watch as she approached, her movements eerily silent, her feet barely seeming to touch the ground. The air around her felt charged, the atmosphere heavy with a palpable sense of dread. Her eyes, gleaming in the scant light, locked onto mine, holding me in a trance of terror. What happened next will haunt me forever. She reached out, her hands cold and insubstantial, yet somehow solid enough to grasp my legs. Her touch was like ice, sending spasms of fear through my body. She began to pull, her grip tightening, a silent command for me to follow her into the darkness from which she had emerged. I wanted to scream, to call out for help, but my voice was trapped within me, stifled by an overwhelming terror. Her smile, if it could be called that, was devoid of warmth, a mere stretching of lips that did not reach her eyes. It was not a smile of comfort but one of dark amusement, as if she relished in my horror. In that moment of absolute fear, time seemed to stretch into eternity. I was caught in a limbo of horror, a prisoner of my own paralyzed body and the spectral figure that sought to claim me. The boundary between reality and nightmare blurred, and I was left to wonder if I would ever escape the clutches of this nightmarish visitation. It was only with the first light of dawn that the apparition vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving me to question the nature of my experience. Was it a mere figment of my overwrought imagination, or had I truly been visited by a specter from beyond the veil? The terror of that encounter was indelibly etched into my mind. The morning light brought with it a resolve to leave. No job, no necessity, could tether me to a place that had become a wellspring of nightmares. My resignation was immediate, my departure swift. I left behind the unfinished structures, the promise of the future business center, and the shadows that lingered in its depths. As the weeks rolled by and I attempted to put distance between myself and the haunting memories of the construction site, the project marched on towards its looming completion. Complaints from the crew about a persistent, ungodly stench and inexplicable dampness in a section of the basement prompted an investigation that led to a shocking decision: to demolish and redo the floor screed that seemed inexplicably wet and foul-smelling. As the concrete slab was broken away, an unbearable stench erupted, a foul miasma that spoke of decay and death. When the dust settled, and the air cleared enough to see, the crew was met with a sight that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. There, among the rubble and the ruin, lay the decaying remains of a woman, her body grotesquely preserved in stretch film, a macabre package hidden beneath the very foundation of the building. The subsequent police investigation unearthed a story so twisted, it seemed to spring from the darkest of fictions. The woman was identified as the mother of the site foreman, a revelation that sent shockwaves through the crew and the local community. Further digging revealed a sordid tale of greed and desperation. The foreman, drowning in loan debts and seeing no other escape, had concocted a chilling plan to claim his mother's inheritance prematurely. Driven by his financial woes, he had sacrificed his own mother, hiding her body in the one place he believed it would never be found. In his twisted logic, the construction site presented the perfect tomb, a place where his gruesome secret could be concealed beneath layers of concrete and steel, masked by the everyday chaos of the building's construction. The discovery sent ripples of horror through the crew and beyond. The site, once bustling with activity, became a focal point for whispered tales and uneasy glances. For me, the news was a grim validation of the fears that had driven me from that place. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, guys.